Welcome to the Electric Playground. Today on the show, we kick off E3 week with info on the latest expansion for Star Wars: The Old Republic in the rundown.
Plus, Jose goes inside Pixar for a closer look at their brainy new movie, Inside Out.
Imagination Land? No way. Dream Productions? Rainbow Unicorn? She's right there. I loved you in Fairy Dream Adventure Part 7. Okay, bye. I love you.
Then Marissa gets drawn to death in a new third-person shooter. Also coming up, we try out some Bluetooth headphones from Astro, have a classic cartridge review of Q*bert on the Game Boy Color, and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest in everything cool every single day. E3, the biggest gaming event of the year, is happening right now and all week long. So let's see what's cooking in the rundown. E3 doesn't officially kick off until tomorrow, but Electronic Arts is already unleashing the force. The publisher has announced Knights of the Fallen Empire, the latest expansion for their MMO Star Wars: The Old Republic. It will see players awaken after being frozen in carbonite for years, only to find themselves in a changed galaxy ruled by a sinister new faction. You'll get to take them down or join them, depending on what side of the force you're on. If Knights of the Fallen Empire sounds a lot like BioWare's best RPG, Knights of the Old Republic, that's not a coincidence. The developers want their expansion to be a return to their hardcore RPG roots with a heavy focus on story and character development. Best of all, it will be free for all users who already have a premium subscription account. It will launch later this year. You don't have to break the bank and live like a Spartan if you want to get all the multiplayer maps for Halo 5 Guardians. Microsoft has revealed that all 15 of the DLC maps for the game will be free. That's on top of the 20 maps that will be included in the game when it launches. So yes, you'll get a grand total of 35 maps without paying anything extra. Microsoft says they're doing this because they don't want players to be split up during matchmaking between those with the DLC and those without. This is sure to come as a sigh of relief for players, given that many other games have been charging more and more for additional content. Halo 5 Guardians will deploy October 27th, expected to have a big presence at E3 this week. Microsoft has also announced a new 1 terabyte model of the Xbox One and cut the price of the 500 gigabyte model by $50. Now, help us, Marissa Roberto. You're our only hope to talk about all of this new Star Wars craze that's happening in 2015.
That's a lot of pressure.
I know.
Lucas. I don't know if I can do it,
Yes,
to be honest.
you can. Yes, you can. Now, we've got the Old Republic getting a big expansion.
Yes.
And I got a chance to check all of this stuff out, and it does really remind me of Knights of the Old Republic. It does feel like BioWare Austin is really trying to pull people in.
For sure. Well, obviously now they're getting a lot more popular as well.
This is, I think, one of the only MMOs that's actually gaining audience as time goes on. And, you know, obviously it's Star Wars. Everybody's got the fever.
Star Wars fever. We all have it, I know.
It's totally understandable. Well, Xbox has got a bunch of big announcements already filtering out around E3. Obviously, the 1 terabyte news dropped a little while ago, which makes perfect sense.
Well, I'm just jealous.
I know.
Because I don't have 1 terabyte. Literally, I'm hovering around my 99% filled.
Yeah.
I can't, I'm always looking at the bar. I don't want to let go of any of the games that I have.
And why does it hurt so much to delete these virtual experiences on the hard drive like that? It just hurts to,
it kills.
To trash them. I know 1 terabyte should be the status quo from now on, I think, right?
It feels so good to get that 1 TV.
And of course, the biggest Xbox news as we head into the show is Oculus partnering with Xbox so that the Oculus is going to be bundled with the Xbox controller, the wireless controller, work natively with Windows and presumably really well with Xbox One.
Yeah, that's amazing. But you know what, Victor Lucas? Now it makes me feel like, why do I early adopt anything?
I know, right? But I mean, this is obviously going to be Morpheus versus Oculus and Microsoft versus Sony. This battle is getting bigger.
Ultimate bro down.
Halo 5 being free with all the multiplayer maps.
35 maps altogether.
I like this trend, and I want others to pick up on it.
That's insane.
Call of Duty.
No, seriously, that's insane.
Yes.
I really like that, though. And Call of Duty should definitely jump on board with that, too. There's a lot of just extra things that people need to pay for after the fact, and it's not fair.
So the week's just started for E3, but already a little golf applause for Xbox. Some good moves right there. All right, but right now we've got to head to Pixar. Yes, Pixar with Jose. He's checking out Inside Out.
Uh-oh, she's looking at us. What did she say?
What? Oh, sorry, sir. No one was listening.
We are talking about Disney Pixar Inside Out. Now tell me about creating the cast of characters for this film.
When we created the cast of characters for this, we looked at our kids. Our kids seem naturally happy all the time, so it seems natural for the lead emotion be joy. And after joy, of course, you have anger, you have fear, you have sadness, and then there's disgust.
Tell me a little bit about who this Riley character is and why we're going to grow to love her so much.
Now, Riley is kind of like all our kids, everyone's kids. They have their early days as little kids, very happy, running around, daddy, 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 mommy, mommy, mommy. And then over years, that changes.
Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
Did you guys pick up on that?
How do you bring life to these emotions?
Well, the one thing that we learned about emotions is that they're actually a primitive set of reactions that help us navigate through life. Such that if you're feeling like you're not being treated fairly, you feel angry. But you choose what to do with it. So that immediately led us to create these characters that are separate from Riley. They're guardians. They want what's best for Riley. Anger does not want Riley to be angry all the time.
Oh, airplane. We got an airplane, everybody.
He wants to make sure that treat my little girl fairly, and I'm okay, you won't have to hear from me. That's how we do it, because when you watch these characters care about someone else, it feels like there's a relationship.
It's broccoli!
One thing I understand about the film is that it took 5 years to create. What is it like from the beginning of the process when you come up with this idea of her, we're going to make this movie about this little girl and her emotions, and to 5 years later finally capturing it all on film?
Yeah, it is. Actually, it starts a lot like this, in a room like this, and there's boards and you draw and you pin them up. Mostly it starts with conversations.
Very, very exciting. I was up late last night figuring out a new plan. Here it is.
All those challenges we talk about. I would be talking to Pete about his childhood. I talk about my kids, he talks about his kids, and then we grow these stories. We try and find out what Joy wants. Find out what the emotions need to do. Those kind of stories, we test out and draw them, and then we pitch it to each other. And after we pitch it, we find out, do we care about these characters? Is this a valuable moment in the movie? Do we want to keep it? Stuff like that.
Think positive.
Okay, I'm positive you will get lost in there.
How important was it getting the voice actors that you did for these roles? Because they pretty much, that's the heart and soul of the film.
Well, it's really important because, just for example, when we had a concept of what Joy was going to be about. And we kind of have in our heads kind of like what would be Joy's voice, but we don't know what she actually sounds like. The day that Amy Poehler sat to read the lines for Joy, she immediately became Joy.
May I add, I love your dress. It's adorable. Oh, this old thing? Thank you so much. I love the way it twirls. Oh, thank you, Joy.
Not only that, Amy Poehler's personality is very much like Joy, such that she's just being herself, kind of just enlarges our experience of our character that we've been drawing and imagining.
Oh, sadness. I have a super important job just for you.
So when she stepped into the role, she kind of started to own it. She started like, I would say it this way. What if I did it like this? What if I want to talk to the character this way? It felt like she just embodied Joy right off, day one.
Imagination Land? No way. Dream Productions? Rainbow Unicorn? She's right there. I loved you in Fairy Dream Adventure Part 7. Okay, bye. I love you.
So what kind of emotion would you like people to leave the theater with after they see Inside Out?
I would like them to leave with the character Joy. Especially in a lot of difficult times, she is amazing. And then you will watch her and you will fall in love with what she wants for Riley, as well as all the other emotion.
What the heck is that?
Who puts broccoli on pizza? That's it. I'm done.
Congratulations, San Francisco. You've ruined pizza. First the Hawaiians, and now you.
Our manliest man getting in touch with his emotions. I dig it.
Well, I'm going to get in touch with my inner teenage angst after the break because I'm taking a look at Drawn to Death.
Welcome back to EP Daily. Do you remember the God of War director David Jaffe?
Yeah, I do. You're not going to believe this, but I actually met him recently.
What?
I know.
Athena, you conspire against me!
Okay, Jones, that's enough. I don't want to hear any more of that. Anyway, let's check in with Mr. Jaffe and learn all about his new game, Drawn to Death.
For what you've done, this city will be your grave!
Enough, honestly. When I was a teenager, I had a notebook that I didn't want to share with anyone at all. But in Drawn to Death, there seems to be a 16-year-old that is sharing a lot of his life experiences with the world. So what exactly is happening in this game?
I have a feeling your viewers and myself are more interested now in what was in this notebook. I don't care how we must discuss this.
You cannot know about it. Tell me about the game.
Oh well, sorry I tried, y'all. Drawn to Death, yeah, it's a third-person multiplayer online shooter that is set primarily inside the pages of a high school student's notebook. So players pick a character that this kid is drawn, and you drop in with that character into this sort of massive world inside his 3-ring binder. And so the characters drop in and find that they're in this world at war. It's bloody, it's violent, it's brutal, and it becomes this really strategic but still very fast-paced cross between an old-school arena shooter updated with modern sensibilities and a brawler. So I don't know, I would say like, a modern version of Unreal Tournament meets Mortal Kombat is kind of what our touchstones are.
So you said there's going to be a lot of strategy involved. So how exactly does that work? I'm jumping into the game and I want to get to a certain amount of points, right? But I also need to defend myself as well. I can't die.
There's all kinds of little mechanics that we put in. So it's everything from saying, okay, the win condition is to get to 5 points first, but if you get killed, you lose a point, right? And so what that does, most shooters tend to be run and just shoot, and you don't really care if you get killed. You just jump back and try it again. We want players to learn the value of defense, staying alive, learning where certain valuable pickups are. We have certain pickups like magical medallions that if you hold them long enough, when you die, you'll come back to life and not lose that point, right?
I'm just wondering what kind of imagination he has when it comes to weapons. Is it a weapon that maybe he's seen in his real life, or did he make some of them up?
Well, we have both, right? So we definitely have a kid who is raised on action movies and television shows that have assault rifles and sniper rifles and grenades and things, and those are fun. They're powerful weapons in the game. But obviously, because we're in a notebook, both from character design as well as weapon design, we can do whatever we want, and we want to take advantage of that. So a couple weapons I love right now that we have on the show. We have Dodgeball Dan, who is the upper torso. It's a severed dodgeball player hanging on your back, and he'll run around with dodgeballs and pelt the out of your enemies. The kid is daydreaming in class, not really paying attention, so he kind of gets involved in the battle. So if you pick up one of these icons, you only have 3 power-ups, these mechanics. You can pick up as many as you want, but you can only use them 3 times per match. And so strategically, you want to make sure you're using it at the right time, because those attacks can be anything. It can be the hand's holding a pencil, you're riding around, and you can stab and kill your enemies with 1 hit. You can also have the hand come in, carry you around for vantage points. He'll draw a suit of armor on you so you're more protected. He'll erase your head and put a giant eyeball on your head so you can see through walls. So depending on what you want to use when you need it, that is how that power-up comes into play. So again, just lots of layers for players who are really into the game to get into.
That was very fun. I got to tell you something personal. I think your interviews might be a little better than mine.
Oh, well, you know what, Jones? It's not a competition.
What? What's that?
What? Oh, you know what? It's time for a classic card. Here's Q*bert.
Q*bert, yeah!
Today's classic cartridge is a Game Boy Color game that's called Q*bert, and you've heard that before because Q*bert has been released many times over the years.
Not in my lifetime, maybe yours.
Yeah. I always thought it was a classic. I always loved how cartoony and cool it looked.
Yes.
And I liked to approach home versions of Q*bert, like Indiana Jones approaches the treasure at the beginning in Raiders. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yes. Is this going to be good? Is this going to be good? And it turns out that I actually kind of dig this Game Boy Color version of Q*bert, even though it looks like butt.
I think Q*bert is kind of interesting because he has a cartoon speech bubble coming out of his mouth, but he's saying a dirty word in it that is broken down into pieces of punctuation. And I liked him because he did always have a little bit of attitude, and I always was kind of rooting for him. Even though I feel always, historically, a little disappointed in the Q*bert games. I've never really enjoyed them. I don't know if you remember the Atari 2600 version, which was, you couldn't even look at it because you would just be rendered blind by how hideous it was. But this is the Game Boy Color version, and I gotta say, I got about, I'll say, 9 minutes of fun out of this. I had a good time for 9 minutes.
Well, the expectations are so low because the Game Boy Color was not much more than the original Game Boy, which looked like pea soup for most of the stuff. So they added like a couple of drops of color into these things, and you could see the screen a bit better, but it was really limited hardware. The thing that worked with Q*bert is that it created a 3D, like a faux 3D kind of vibe, and that's been tough to pull off all the way along. Even today, this does a marginal, almost acceptable version of being able to move around as Q*bert in this 3D space.
I couldn't help but think about Zaxxon at the same time, and maybe we'll bring that out again soon. We'll see what happens.
Got to find it.
But you can't help but not marvel at the polygons, because they weren't really at this point in video game history.
Yeah.
But this goes on 1982. It was a long time ago.
These are just sprites, man.
But, the thing that's hardest, the thing that I struggled with most going back here was the controls.
Yes, this has always been an issue, and especially when you play in the home versions of the game, you are going to miss stuff, and you are going to get stuck or trapped by coily, or have some purple globule hit you, and a little speech bubble thing is going to come out of you.
I had 9 minutes of fun playing this, and you could probably find it in your used game store or what have you.
Or online, yeah.
But I probably spent about 7 of those 9 minutes just getting used to the controls, because there is a learning curve. It is pretty steep, but once you start getting used to it, once you start getting used to controlling your sprite in this pseudo three-dimensional space, it's a little bit of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of like taking Pac-Man and twisting it and turning it and making it a little bit more meaty. I'm going to give Q*bert on the Game Boy Color a 7.5 out of 10.
And I'm going to give Q*bert a 4 out of 10.
Ooh.
So Q*bert can only jump diagonally, and he can ride a rainbow frisbee.
Yeah, you got it, Jones.
Okay.
After the break, I join my much smarter co-host to review something cool.
Much smarter co-host? Is that me again?
You just go sit down over there. Look, there's sandwiches.
Oh.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to EP Daily. If you're in the market for headphones, a company called Astro makes some of the best cans on the market. Are they still calling them cans, Marissa? Anyway, here's Vic and Marissa with the latest pair of headphones from Astro. Why can't you answer me when I ask you a question? Why?
We have been testing out the Astro A38 Bluetooth headphones.
OMG.
And I'm not the hugest headphone fanatic. I'm an earbud type person for the most part.
I feel like I'm not blocking out the world around me, even though I kind of am. But when I have the big headphones, they're a little bit intrusive.
Well, they're noise canceling, these ones. There is an epiphany here. There is a realization that I had. First of all, I love the wireless kind of structure of these.
Exciting.
I think it's amazing now that we live in a time when we can have noise canceling, beautifully made headphones like this that are wireless.
Headphones.
I felt like such a badass when I was walking around down the street like
He
this
just
with
felt
my
like he was in Jet Set
Saturday Night
Radio.
Live or Jet Set Radio, yeah.
With a square headphones.
Listening to my cool Block Party on my square headphones, and they do look a little futuristic and cool. And there's no wires. I think that's awesome. And they weren't uncomfortable. And so I started to watch some episodes of Daredevil, and I was playing some games.
I think that's the way to do it. I think that's the way to use the headphones, is to sit in front of your TV or in front of your pad, your iPad, and just watch things and take it in that way, because you do want to cancel out the world around you when you're watching these things anyway.
Yeah.
However, when you get a phone call...
Yeah, there's a little microphone in here that is not that good. It's,
my Lord, it is terrible.
So you get a lot of, what?
Oh my God, trying to have a conversation with my mother with these headphones on.
Are you in a submarine?
It's seriously
I
more of
can't
a
hear you
headache
very well.
than
What's
it's
happening?
worth. It's terrible.
I know. This is a pricey item though. It's $200 plus. So you got to be right into this idea of wireless. You got to be into this noise canceling. You got to be cool with them fitting on your head. That's the thing with headphones. You have to try them all out. They got a custom fit for you.
That's true. And these did feel comfortable when I first put them on. But honestly, Vic, much like all of these headphones, it just starts to get a little bit hot after a while on my ears. And you and I have different shaped ears. That's the thing. These are... You need to try these things on. You can't just order them online.
Agreed.
You really need to try them on. You need to go somewhere, you need to try these things on, especially if you consider yourself an audiophile. You might have already even tried these.
You might have tried them, and I think real audiophiles, they spend way more than a couple $100 to get the things that are perfect for them. But, I have to say, I was shockingly impressed and really dig these.
You were shocked.
I was. I didn't expect to like these headphones as much as I did, and now they're my go-to. I don't wear them to crush the spikes, but I wear them when I got a baseball hat and I'm on a plane or whatever.
That's the thing. So, when?
I dig them.
For like a quarter of your life then?
Yeah.
Because this happens most of the time. The spikes.
When I don't give a crap about the spikes, I wear these headphones, and I'm very impressed with them.
But how are you going to be jet set without the spikes, Victor Lucas?
I know, it's a conundrum. What are you going to give the A38 Astro headphones?
They're too pricey for me. I'm sorry. It's getting a 6.
Wow. 8.5 from me.
Thanks, Vic and Marmar. Up next, 2 very sweet people answer a viewer's very sweet Twitter question after this.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. Welcome back to the Electric Playground. It is time for our Twitter question of the day. This one is from Mr. Osborne at Phantom RC Driver. Starting a new job next week. Any tips on how to impress? How were your first weeks on Reviews on the Run? I guess, I mean, I was terrible when I first started.
You were terrible?
Well, I was just nervous and, I was trying to read, not read, but I was trying to sound like one of the magazines that I was reading all the time.
Okay, well, I'm going to make this a general kind of tips sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was very nervous too starting, but I think anybody's nervous starting at your first job because you want to impress for sure.
Apparently people watch.
So what you do is you bake something delicious and you bring it in and you share with everybody around.
Share cookies.
Share cookies. Just bring some things so you can bring the whole team in and show that you're a nice person and maybe you can all get along.
Oh, Marissa, great advice, and thank you for all the cookies you share around here.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to get caught up on any EP content, go to epn.tv.
We've got more coming for you in the next episode of EP Daily, including Gearbox Software's Battleborn.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox. EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Dungeon Hunter 5, which you can play for free on iOS and Android right now. You have a really strong lineage here with Borderlands. It's such an incredible property. How do you distance from that? How do you create space from Borderlands? And then my next question, as a fan of Borderlands, are there any Borderlands characters in Battleborn?
Me personally, I'm also a huge Borderlands fan. It's part of our lineage, and we have a really soft spot for that. But Battleborn is very much its own unique thing. If you put them side to side next to each other, they're both stylish games, but they're stylish in their own flavor. Whereas with Borderlands, you get that beautiful inking on everything. With Battleborn, we get really beautiful, stylized, almost clean approach to all of the characters, and that graphic feature that we're getting is, I think, what sets them apart.